Friendship is a very important issue, but unfortunately, there is no friendship without conflict. Wherever people are friends, conflict about to happen. I've written a book on friendship, and I argue that anybody you call an enemy must have at one time or another been a friend. And the greater the friendship, the greater the potential enmity. And that's something that you need to be aware of. That that if you are friends, if you don't manage a friendship properly, it could turn out to enmity. If you don't know somebody, they can never become your enemies. The only people with the potential to be enemies are people who have had a conflict with you and you didn't manage it properly. So a discussion on conflict management is a very, very important one. Because since there will be conflicts, how you manage them is what will make the friendship last. No genuine friends who have been friends for a reasonable period have not had something to handle. So when you hear people are friends for 30, 40, 50 years, it's not because they have never had a conflict. It is that they know how to manage their conflict. When you talk about conflict, it can be, it can be a interpersonal communication problem. There is something I wanted to say, you didn't understand it the way I wanted you to understand. I feel hurt that you misinterpreted me. And so there is a conflict between us because you did not understand exactly what I wanted you to hear me say. You seem to think I said something different, and I feel hurt that you can do that. That is an interpersonal communication problem, and there are many. Because you see, we may be talking the same language, same vernacular, but the images in your mind may not be the images in my mind. And so when I say something and I use a certain image, it could easily mean something different to you. And that's why we are saying conflict is inevitable if you are not a dead human being. One of the ways knowing you are alive in every sense, spiritually alive, mentally alive, physically alive, is the fact that you feel and you think, you like, you dislike. It is that living thing that makes another person who is alive also have a conflict with you. You can never have conflict with a dead person. Just like it will be difficult to have friendship with a dead person. Like they say, for true friendship, when on the issue of conflict, you cannot talking about there's something you are discussing now and you are ready to fight. There's something just about you are in the stage called ready to fight stage. The conflict has not taken off, but you can see it coming. Or you have just come from a conflict. You have just resolved another stage in your relationship. A stage of about to enter into a conflict, and that's the stage of I've just left a conflict, we are now reconciled. Or you are in the middle of a conflict. Many of us in our very interesting and enjoyable relationships, that's what we deal with. And that what excites us is to see the desire of our friend to resolve an issue, the commitment to resolve it, and finally to see it resolved makes you move from one degree of friendship into even a deeper one. So, peace is a conflict dealt with. Peace is not lack of conflict. Peace is a conflict dealt with well. But there's different types of conflict we can talk about, and conflicts are many, and it's important to be aware that they'll be dealt with differently. One type of conflict you have with your friend is called content conflict. In other words, you are disagreeing on fact You are disagreeing on what actually happened. You are disagreeing on what was actually said, content. For example, our son was born on the 8th of March. No. 8th of March, how? But 8th of March, I was in the US. There's no way it can happen. No, there's a big conflict you are fighting over. And you feel belittled. How can you doubt my memory? Now, of course, you are changing the conflict from a content to something else. But when the conflict you are having is about content, that's the easiest one to deal with. Because instead of raising your voice and becoming emotional, why don't you check the facts? Just go and look for the birth certificate. So once the disagreement is there, don't start calling your spouse names or your friend foolish. Just say, my memory seems to make it look like different, but let's not trust our memories. Why don't we just check the birth certificate? The conflict will be over, because as soon as the birth certificate comes, and it's possible that neither of you is right, or one of you is right, the matter is resolved. The trouble is a lot of people don't bother to check the content. You are disagreeing on something that you should never disagree on. It's okay to remember differently, but don't start arguing about it. No amount of argument will make a birthday change. So just find out the information, if it is available. Okay. Oh, carrots. They are not just good for eyes. They are also good for legs. You run better when you eat carrots. Never heard of that. Carrots and legs and running? No. I don't know. And then it becomes a big argument. That's an argument about content. Why don't you just Google up carrots, nutrition, and you'll just have it there? So why argue and have hatred, sometimes long-term hatred, on issues which can be easily verified, issues of content? Oh, the Old Testament doesn't talk at all about weddings. Is it? Instead of arguing, simply check a concordance. Type the word wedding, Old Testament, and you'll see whether the subject is discussed or not. So a lot of the discussions and conflicts that even break long-term friendships can very easily be sorted out if you only bother to find out what is this conflict about. The moment you know it's about content, find out how can we verify the content. Neither you nor him, but some independent way of verification of the content. If it is there, then that's the end of the argument. Don't bother. Don't even argue your case. Just say, let's find out. And that will sort the matter out. But a much more difficult conflict to deal with is a conflict that is called conflict of values. And it's also related to conflict of faith. If we are disagreeing on whether the Holy Spirit can give enablement to speak in tongues, and whether that matter is something relevant to modern church, part of it is content, part of it is what you believe. And when it's an issue of what you believe, that are serious conflict issue. That's why we normally tell young people, do not try to marry someone where you are likely to have a conflict of faith, conflict of values. Because values are deep-seated, non-negotiable convictions. So when you disagree on this, I don't think it's easy to sort the matter out. Because my beliefs are not your beliefs. Simple. And I am committed to my beliefs. And you're also committed to yours. So it's not like the content one. Here is something that you may not even easily verify. God can do this, or God told me this. That's a matter of faith. It will be very difficult for you to agree together, and it's a much more difficult. That's now at the level where you agree to disagree. You agree to disagree means that you retain your faith and I retain mine. We continue being friends, but that becomes a no-go zone because of the belief system. So that's a matter that you need to ask yourself. When you're having a conflict with your friend, find out, is it a matter of faith? If it's a matter of faith, state your case, allow the person to state their case, allow each other to remain different if it's a matter of faith. But it's good to share in the sense that he might consider your possession, he might get influence, but you need to understand the conflict you are having is a very major conflict which can ruin your relationship for life. And that's something that you need to deal with. That type of conflict, and it's also difficult, but not as bad as the one of faith and values, is what we talk about negotiation of self. Who am I? So if I start thinking that you don't believe in me, you don't value me, that I'm dealing with somebody who does not care about me, doesn't recognize how great I am, that conflict will be a major conflict. Because I'm trying to assert who I am. Now, if you want to destroy who I am, what will I be left with? So I'll fight to the nail like a cat that has been cornered. So if the conflict is about who I am, you're trying to make me look useless and hopeless, and so I don't want, so we are fighting. That will be a very serious fight, and you need to ask yourself, is that the type? If it is, you need to realize that you can't win when you want to make me totally cease to be. I want to negotiate myself to show that I'm important. And that can be quite a problem. Another conflict is, and is related with those three also, is one of ethnicity, where you believe your tribe is better than mine. So we are differing based on ethnocentrism. That is also a very difficult thing, but much easier to sort out. Because the moment you accept that we are from two separate backgrounds, that our cultures are different, and then thirdly, that because of our background, therefore we cannot have the same culture. Recognize my culture, allow my culture to remain with me, allow me to be proud of it, because nobody else can be proud for my culture except me. Then I recognize yours and allow you to be proud of yours. But nobody is trying to look down on the other's culture or to tell him that their culture is foolish. You can say it's different, but don't make it look foolish. There will be a fight for nothing. The same with racism. Black and white. My friend, we need to recognize that nobody applied to be born black or to be born white. So whatever you are, it's accepted. You are white, you are black, whatever. But the first thing is recognize that it's not a choice. Then recognize that there are goods. There's good in either black or white, in both. And allow me to be black and allow you to be white. And we recognize each other. We'll have a wonderful fellowship. Our friendship will last. So that's something that you need to look at. But the real temptation when it comes to ethnicism and racism is to judge others according to my way. You can't say, that guy is foolish. Foolish against what standard? I'm using my culture to judge you. If I want to find out that you are okay, I should know your culture, then judge you against your own culture, because you operate not within my culture, but within yours. So, do not judge others according to your systems that they have. They don't operate in. And that can be quite an issue in life. But that's what happens. We also like to judge people on the assumption that our hours is a standard. Yours cannot be the standard when I'm not part of it. Do not use your standard to measure me. Don't judge others on using your own criteria, which doesn't apply to them and they do not operate within it. So you end up with a big conflict, which is not warranted. It should not have happened. And I think that's important. But we are so ethnocentric. We see things with our own eyes. It's Paul in Romans who says you should see things from the other person's viewpoint. See things. So if you really want friendship with people, try to see things from their perspective. The moment you see it from the perspective, something that looks terrible to you may look good from their point of view. You will still be seeing it also in your point of view, but then the point is you understand them, so you don't argue about it. You don't even mention it. If they like their food, but you think it looks like poo-poo, my friend, just don't talk about it. Just ignore it. And your friendship will actually continue. So if you're really having this type of conflict, then you must choose your words. Don't use words that will make the other person provoked. And also choose the tone of your voice, because some conflicts don't come from the words, some conflicts come from the tone. I love you. You're joking with me. What's wrong with you? Of course, begins. Not because of the words you use, but because of the tone of voice. So if you don't want conflict that are not worth having, I think it will be important that you clearly choose the tone of voice that will make the other person not combative and create differences. Or sometimes it's the facial expression. You are saying good words, but you look disgusted. And then you're saying, what a wonderful place, what a wonderful meeting. But your face expressions are showing you are disgusted. Where up with a conflict for looking down on my place, despite all the words you are saying about my house? So I think that will be something you have to think about. The other one is, so you can have a conflict because of choice of words. You can have a conflict because of tone of voice. You can have a conflict because of your facial expression. But you could not even have a problem simply because of your silence. You go quiet. How are you? How was the meeting? Did you meet my father? We end up having a conflict. And it's not because of words. It's simply because of silence. So you can see there are many things that, many of them are actually preventable. But if you are not very careful, your friendship will be affected. And that's not a very good thing. So you have options on how you react to a conflict. You can see the conflict, whatever type of conflict. But some people just deny the issue. You continue smiling, continue. There you are boiling from within, but you continue, you deny the issue exists. The danger with that is that since the issue is still there, when finally you lose control, you erupt like a volcano, that friendship will be badly destroyed. If only you had acknowledged right from the beginning there's an issue, you'd have sorted it out before it was too bad. So denying the issue is one option you have. The other option is placating. In other words, you have a conflict with somebody, then you buy them a gift. You have a conflict with somebody, then you tell them how beautiful their dress is. You have a conflict with somebody, then you just start praising them. My friend, they feel placated and so can't fight back, cannot demand an explanation. But the problem is still boiling underneath. But the third way of responding is to, once there's a conflict, you surrender. What do you want? I'm agreeing. I'm sorry. You are not even sure what you are saying you are sorry about. But you don't want a conflict. So you give in to whatever. The way of, it's called yielding to the other person. Now, and yielding, certainly the other person will assume the conflict has ended. But for the person who is yielding, since this is a win-lose situation, they remain behind unhappy. But it's a way people choose, and I'm sure as I talk, you can think of friends of yours who normally choose that method of yielding to you, so the matter, oh, sorry. What do you want me to do? Now, my friend, you have not dealt with the issue, don't even understand the issue fully, and yet the conflict is finished before it is finished. But number 4 is suppress the conflict. So you do that by minimizing the conflict. That's small. I don't know. Sorry. You didn't hurt me. It was a very small matter. Forget about it. You are minimizing the conflict. If it is small, that's okay. But if you are minimizing a major conflict, it's not ended. When you're on your own, you still wonder, how could Nganga do that to me? How could he do? When you are together, now I know you did it. You don't even have to apologize. I'm okay. I'm okay. Those things happen. When you do that, you are accumulating, and it's likely to lead up to an eruption at a later stage. But another one solution is diverting. You are having a conflict on a matter. Say, hey, by the way, do you remember when we were in Form 2? Remember that black American teacher? Now, so you're no longer discussing the conflict. You have diverted attention. And then because that's a very interesting story, you start going to it and you forget about the problem at all. You have diverted. Unfortunately, that's not sorted out the issue. It's no longer at play now, but you have not sorted out. But another method of using is to use your position, power, and status. Somebody asks you, why did you not eat? Says, who are you to ask me such a question? My friend, I have still got a conflict because of the way you treated my food, but I don't want to end up with a fight with my boss. So I go quiet. You are using your position, power, to stifle conflict. But that doesn't stop the conflict. It's still there. I think I told you another thing people use is silence. You're having a conflict, you go quiet. In marital circles, it's called the silence treatment, where your wife is not talking to you for 1 week, 2 weeks, and you have no idea where you hurt him, what it was about, but he's not talking, nail by mouth. That's not a way to deal with conflict, but some people use that to deal with the conflict. It doesn't sort out any conflict at all. And in the process, you are punishing yourself, you are punishing the other person, yes, but you're also punishing yourself. And that's not a very, very good way of dealing with the conflict. But another way is to overrun the other person, silence them every way. In other words, you say, this is a conflict, these are the issues, but they should have think like this. Maybe you're philosophically at a higher level, so you argue it out and defeat them in the argument. So the conflict is over. But it's a win-lose position. The other guy goes with a bitter taste in their mouth. And that can be quite a problem if you think the problem is sorted out, where you overrun the other person, so he feels like he lost in the conflict resolution. And this may be caused by being insensitive to the other party, not caring about what they care about, making the conflict look not non-existent, because you don't have the same approach to the matter. So what's my suggestion as we finish? Identify the real cause of any conflict. Don't Don't ignore conflict. It will become a problem. It will come to haunt you at a later time. Is it content? Is it negotiation of self? What's the conflict about? Identify it. That's the way to sort out a question, as a conflict. Answer the question, does this friendship matter to you? If it does, and you have understood what the conflict is all about, then you put all your effort to ensure you resolve it. The third thing you do is you review your history with the person. Is there something you can use in history that will help to sort out the current challenge, or something in history that can help explain the the present conflict? That will be something important. What are his beliefs? What are your beliefs? Or maybe it's a personality issue. Review your personality trait and the other party's personality trait and see whether some of the issues may be dealt with by simply ignoring them, because if it's a personality issue, you are not about to change his personality. But sometimes it's try to role reversal. See the matter from the other person's perspective. That will help you. And that's important. Remember, you're talking about how to resolve the conflict. The moment you're able to see the conflict, not from your angle, which you are pushing very hard for the other person rather than, but now put yourself in their shoes and try to see the matter from the angle. You will be one step to helping sort out the conflict. Now, you need to also, what they talk about XYZ method, you need to come to where you try to find out what is hurting the person, but you also tell them, when you say this is what I feel hurt. In other words, don't blame the other person. Why don't you remove the conflict from a conflict between you two, but a conflict with an issue? So you say, by the way, when you say this, I feel like. In other words, you are no longer condemning them. It's you that is feeling. You have made the matter look like you are the one doing wrong. You are the one responding this way. Whenever you call me a boy, I feel like you don't recognize my manhood. I'm not suggesting it's wrong. I'm a boy. That's not the problem. I'm just telling you about myself. That will start helping to sort out the issue. When you start seeing things from the other person's perspective, when you start allowing the issue not to be you versus me, but we versus the issue. Or start talking from your personal, you start blaming yourself rather than blaming the other person. And provoking an understanding, you are helping him to see the matter from your perspective also. Then finally, in order to now resolve the issue, now agree, what can we do that will resolve this issue? We now collaborate. Take all the issues in the conflict, now that you have analyzed the conflict, and look at the consequences of either decision, and then be assertive in determining the direction that will take place. And I think that will be important. So that way you end up with less conflict, less bad conflict. There can be conflict, but they will not be allowed to become bad. But by the way, as we finish, let's agree that conflicts are very useful. Why are they useful? Because God cannot have made us so different, like men and women are different, and then told us to get married, without him expecting that there will be conflict. But this conflict is a conflict to diversity. Diversity enriches life. But number two, this conflict tests our progression in terms of growth of our relationship. And when we see us pass, it's like when you pass your exam, you get excited. And conflict is like an exam. You pass it, your relationship becomes even better. And it's a booster of confidence that, hey, this guy likes me. So likes me so much that he does not want us to continue in conflict. So once the conflict is resolved out, you feel, wow, this person is interested. He has invested the solution of the problem. And of course, the conflict is the only thing that can help in the assessment of ideas. And so this assessment of ideas that the conflict forces you to look at the underlying issues will help you. And it helps to legitimize your viewpoints once you're able to explain yourself. And I think that will certainly help you. So there are benefits out of conflict, and every conflict will help you to go to a better stage in your relationship.